The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Autosportinsurance.com, and IDIS High Definition Surveillance Systems. Hello and welcome to the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli for the second round of the Supersport and Sport classes at the Circuit of Zolder. These touring car series get more exciting every year as the field grows ever stronger. The organisers work hard to balance the competition between very different types and brands. And before Zolder, each team was told what the minimum weight of their car should be, which meant adding weight for some and shedding it for others. After every race, says Dick Van Elk, we check the power-to-weight ratio of every car. After the first round at Zandvoort, we had all the data we needed for comparison. We try not to rush these things, so we use the opening round to gather the data and then make up the balance. For the second round here at Zolder, we've set the minimum weight for each car, and it seems to have worked very well. If you look at qualifying in Supersport, the most competitive of the two classes, the best times for the top five were covered by about 1/10 of a second. And that's our main goal. The competitors seem to be very happy with the measures. Among the Supersport cars that can start losing weight are the brand new Seat Leon Cup racers run by Ferry Monster Autosport, a team that's won several championship titles in the past. But the weight advantage they have for Zolder isn't entirely without its surprises. Our cars are relatively heavy and underpowered, so the organisers have given us a new minimum weight. But this means my drivers have to weigh 45 kilos, and I can tell you it's pretty hard to find those drivers. I'm sure 45 kilo drivers don't exist. But every part on the Seat is made from metal. The bonnet, the doors, it's all metal, all relatively heavy. So we're working hard, of course, to make those parts out of carbon fibre, and that should save 75, maybe 100 kilos, and that's a lot, but it does take time to make the parts. The Seat drivers this season will be Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein in number 420, and in the yellow-grey Seat here, driven by experienced lady Priscilla Spellman, is 19-year-old rookie Dennis Heuveling. Their best result so far is 5th, and they want to do better, so the team's working hard to improve the young racers' skills.
Ja, dat is wel de bedoeling. We proberen wel 1 keer per maand.
Well, our goal is to try and do an extensive test session once a month, preferably at the track where the next races will be. So the next weekend will be at Spa, so we're going to test the Seat at Spa as well. We hope to do better, to be prepared for the rounds, collecting and comparing data, optimising the setup and learning the tracks. They're all vital steps in becoming faster. Priscilla Spellman has a number of years of racing experience, but this front-wheel drive Seat is a big challenge for her as well.
Ik vind de overstap best wel groot, omdat ik voorheen...
Well, this front-drive Leon was quite a big step. I'm used to driving rear-wheel drive cars, so I really needed to change my driving style. But I'm a quick learner, and progress has been very good, so I hope to do well this weekend. The 330 horsepower Seats can have a minimum weight of 1,250 kilos, which means they're around 100 kilos lighter than the BMWs, but of course those have a lot more power. The car with the lightest weight in Supersport is the Lotus Exige. Here's Huub Del Noise. The lightweight British sports car has not escaped the new weight regs though, and it has to add a whopping 50 kilos, which will certainly affect the handling of the car, as Huub explains. Because we've got relatively less horsepower than our rivals, we lack power in the lower rev range, and this weight certainly isn't helping. It's harder on the exit of the corners, but I'm sure I can compensate for that by adjusting my driving style through the turns. So a substantial weight gain for the Lotus, but still Huub Del Noise manages to set a 2nd and a 5th fastest lap time in qualifying, and he's the only non-BMW right at the front of the field. The BMW group is split into 2 camps, the lighter BMWs with their 3.2 litre 6-cylinders and the heavier 4 litre V8s such as this car of Steve van Bellingen and Eric Fick, number 421. Remarkably, their already heavy BMW has gained 30 kilos. Well, clearly it affects the handling, says Eric. We've adjusted the setup, we've got new hubs, other upgrades to improve the handling, but we're still not satisfied. I think we've really got our work cut out for us here. The championship leaders are Koen Burkhardt and Mark van der Aar. They've also had to add weight to their 3.2 litre 6-cylinder BM run by JR Motorsport. We've had to add 50 kilos, says Koen. What problems do we expect because of the extra weight? Well, Zolder's got a lot of tight chicanes, they demand heavy braking, so now there's more weight that needs to be slowed down. the brakes take a real beating. But as long as the regulations stay reasonable, that's okay. We're used to driving with weight penalties, so we know it should turn out not to be too much of a problem. It's just ballast. Everybody complains, but it's the same for everyone, or at least relatively the same, so then we have nothing to complain about. Fair racing is good for the sport and the series. Good news for BMW drivers Dennis de Groot and Mart de Graaf, also part of the JR Motorsport team, as they don't have to add weight. The 1 Series BMW GTR with a new wider rear end now seems closer to a race win than ever before. Well, we didn't have to add weight. We were allowed to reduce the weight by 20 kilos, in fact. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible. The car's already as light as it can be. Dennis Groot's tried everything, using lighter bolts and brackets, new bumpers. It scraped off 2 kilos, but 18 more kilos, that's impossible. But it's a huge advantage that our rivals have had to add weight to their cars. Another BMW that avoids penalties under the new regs is Philippe Bonnell's BMW M3 GTR. He's asked Bas Schouten to join his team, and though the car wasn't competitive at Zandvoort, with this weight advantage, the team is happy that they're now on the edge of the Supersport regs. We haven't had to add any weight. The car wasn't properly weighed in Zandvoort. They said our car was 100 kilos too heavy, but that's just impossible. It turned out after another weigh-in that the car actually was the correct weight to compete in Supersport, so no extra balance for us. But looking at our pace, we might still have to add some weight later. The top 5 in qualifying were within a tenth of a second, everyone clearly on the limit, but the fastest time for the first race set by Bas Schouten and Philippe Bonnell. The rules changes appear to have worked in favour of EMG Motorsport, and of course they're pretty happy with their first pole position. But their joy is short-lived when the team runs into trouble and is too late to make the grid. So Bonnell and Schouten miss out on pole. They will be forced to start from the pit lane. In race 1, Marcel van der Maat is alone on the front row in the orange and white M3 GTR, but can he use this to his advantage and claim his first win? He makes a great start. Behind him the battle is on between 2 JR Motorsport BMWs, but Mart de Graaf locks up completely and almost hits Marcel van der Maat in the first corner. Marcel saw him coming and ran wide through Eerste Linkse, and that leaves the door open for Mark van der Aar. He attacks the leader around the outside as de Graaf again locks up, clearly having ABS problems. Eric van der Munkhoff takes advantage. He moves up to 3rd in the Canal box. Towards Bianchi, Mark van der Aar has much better acceleration, goes around the outside for the lead of Supersport. Marcel van der Maat down to 2nd. Mart de Graaf trying to recover from his mistake. He has a poor exit out of Bianchi. The gap to van der Munkhoff grows. He's going to have to be careful at the first chicane as well, which is a huge braking episode. Van der Maat cuts the chicane and shoots straight on. He hangs on to 2nd place as they climb the hill and then drop down towards Villeneuve. Mark van der Aar already building up a big lead. Eric van der Munkhoff defending downhill again from Mart de Graaf, who has no brakes and shoots through the gravel. He comes on alongside van der Munkhoff, avoiding contact, but he can't keep the place, so he allows him to go. Slams the door on Huub del Nooy though. Mart de Graaf in 4th place, del Nooy not very happy. Mark van der Aar leads from Marcel van der Maat. Eric van der Munkhoff on his tail, then Mart de Graaf with no brakes. Huub del Nooy in the Lotus 5th. Priscilla Spellman, the best Seat, in 7th place. Philippe Bonnell, his face speaks volumes. Their first pole gone west because of what looks like a major mistake by the team. Bas Schouten, though, more highly motivated to do well, fighting his way through the field, but misjudges this pass on Eric Fick. Contact, they both continue, but Schouten gets a drive-through penalty for that, and that means rejoining right at the back of the field. Things then go from bad to worse. In the drive-through, there's already smoke coming out from under the exhaust. A few corners later, it's disaster. He pulls over by the marshals. It's a dramatic end to Bas Schouten and Philippe Bonnell's racing weekend. But as Bas explains later, it could have gone an awful lot worse.
I saw
the flames coming into the cockpit right where I was sitting. I didn't know how fast I could get out of the car to try and put them out. If the fire had lasted maybe another 10 seconds, it would have got to the fuel cell. That would have been the end of the car and the end of the season. Well, there's also a small brake fire on Mart de Graaf and Dennis de Groot's BMW 1 Series GTR. Hardly surprising with their ABS problems, they've pushed the brakes to the limit. Luckily, this fire is easy to put out, and in the end, they still claim 3rd place. JR teammates Koen Boekhuyts and Mark van der Aar hold on to the lead even after it gets wet in the closing stages to win their 2nd race of the season.
pakte goed uit vandaag. En,
Everything worked out well today, says Mark. Koen did a great job. Probably wasn't easy on slicks in the rain, but another race win. We're very happy. Mark de Graaf and Dennis Groot finished in third, 6 seconds behind Erik van der Munkhoff. Koen Burkhart's Mark van der Aar keep their lead in the Supersport Championship. It's turning out to be another successful weekend for JR Motorsports because they also claim pole for the second race. Our main rivals are our teammates, Koen Burkhart's Mark van der Aar. They've got to add 40 result seconds to their mandatory pit stop. We only have to add 10, so we got a 30-second advantage, says Mark de Graaf. Huub Del Nooy starts second next to us on the grid, and I think he's got no result seconds, so it's going to be important to stay in front of him and try and build a gap. Mark de Graaf will again do the first stint. Next to him, Huub Del Nooy, who dropped out on Saturday after just 2 laps with a broken engine in the Lotus. On the second row, third fastest Koen Burkhart's with Peter Schurz next to him in the white and orange BMW. Missing from the grid, Bas Schouten and Philip Bonnell's BMW, as EMG Motorsport couldn't repair the damage after the big fire in time. So Erik van der Munkhoff starts alone from the third row with the Z4 GTR. From the fourth row, Steve van Bellingen with the M3 will try and close that gap alongside him as soon as the lights go out for this 60-minute race. And there he goes, and look down the inside of the leader. The BMW in the lead is not poleman Mark de Graaf, it's Koen Burkhart's. Wheel to wheel they go. Eased out onto the curbs, Huub Del Nooy loses traction. Through goes the Black Lotus of Van der Kooi. Jan van der Kooi moves up to fourth as Steve van Bellingen is in third. They started really well. Still wheel to wheel for the lead in front. Koen Burkhart's on the outside. And in fact, he goes by the 1 Series again, retakes the lead. That's 3 changes of the lead in 3 corners already. Koen Burkhart's leads. Mark de Graaf in second, Steve van Bellingen third. That's Jan van der Kooi right in front of us as we get down towards the braking area for the first chicane. Down the inside comes Huub Del Nooy. Battle under brakes between the Lotuses and between the BMWs. Tiny touch, I think, but no damage done. Del Nooy in front of van der Kooi at the moment. Down into Villeneuve, Mark van der Aar there with a big lead over Mark de Graaf, Steve van Bellingen, then the 2 Lotuses. Then Peter Schurz with the orange tail ahead of Erik van der Munkhoff and Ronald van Loon. Jan van der Kooi losing a little bit of ground out of the Villeneuve chicane. Looks like a battle shaping up for second place in front of us. And that is Steve van Bellingen attacking Mark de Graaf towards the end of the lap now. The Lotuses battling for supremacy, both now with that extra weight added, but a good exit here. Here comes van der Kooi looking down the inside. So too is van Bellingen in front. Can't turn inside into the final chicane. On board with Huub Del Nooy, back down to 5th place. Lots of chopping and changing on this opening lap. It's frantic stuff. Here comes Steve van Bellingen looking down the inside into Eerste Links for second place. Mark de Graaf on the outside, on board and contact, a big slide. Spun out into the gravel and somebody's joined him. And that somebody is Steve van Bellingen. They both went off the bite a bit.
Ja, was volgens mij een mooi gevecht.
I think it was a good fair battle till we collided at the Eerste Linkse. I've just come back from race control where they showed me the video. It's impossible to say really what happened. He was next to me. Maybe I didn't give him enough room, but I don't think he's sure of what happened either. So I think we should say it's just a racing incident. Steve van Bellingen says, I wasn't happy about the start of my race. I didn't take any risks. Maybe I should have pushed a bit harder. I tried to pass in the first corner because he left the door wide open. So it was clear I was going to try and pass. But when you're out braking on the limit, it's impossible to avoid contact if he closes the door. So we collided, we spun, but that's part of racing as well. Well, stay with us to see what happens in the rest of race 2 and to catch up with the sport class here in Zolder. The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Autosportinsurance.com, and IDIS High Definition Surveillance Systems. Welcome back to the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli as we look at race 2 for the Supersport and Sport divisions at Zolder in Belgium. Koen Burkhardt started in third but took the lead after 3 corners, while Mark de Graaf in the white 1 Series tried to defend second from Steve van Bellingen. They made contact and both dropped back down the order. It was an entertaining opening lap or two. Koen Boekarts then with a comfortable lead, and with the BMW battle behind him off track and right at the tail of the field, that leaves 2 Lotuses dicing for the podium spots. In front of us is Jan van der Kooi in the black Lotus Exige in his white and otherwise identical car. Huub Del Nooy sends it deep down the inside into Villeneuve. Right behind them, Peter Schreurs in the BMW M3, Erik van der Munkhoff in the Z4 GTR there, and Ronald van Loon in his BMW. Schreurs overtaking van der Kooi on the pit straight. He goes up into 3rd place as they get to Eerste Linkse. Looks like Huub Del Nooy has run away in front, on board with Erik van der Munkhoff now. This is for 4th place, passing Jan van der Kooi into the hospital corner. Van der Kooi with degrading tyres because they're overheating. He pushed too hard perhaps in those opening stages. Well, pushing too hard in the opening stages, Mark de Graaf and Steve van Bellingen, they made contact, they went off, they dropped to the tail of the field. Now they're back up to 6th and 7th, battling their way through traffic. Well, this dice continues for many laps. Finally, coming down to the first chicane, de Graaf in a position to try and move on Van Bellingen. Right on the ragged edge of adhesion, squirming under braking. He gets through just before the pit stop window opens. We'll take a look at this. Watch the car jink around as he hits the brake pedal, only just controls it. Van Bellingen gets in sideways as well. Fantastic racing. Mandatory pit stops in each hour-long race between 25th and 35th minute after 60 seconds or more if you've got to add result seconds based on what happened in the previous race. No seconds extra for Peter Schreurs and Marcel van der Mark. They move up to 2nd as Koen Boekarts and Mark van der Aar drop back with 40 result seconds. First it went great, says Peter. I messed up the start and then there was that collision with the 2 BMWs, so I got held up a bit. When they spun, I slowed down too much. But after that, I managed to recover pretty well. Moved up a couple of places in the order. And then I settled down. I was behind the guy who was 3rd or, I don't know, maybe 2nd, I think. The pit stop went great, so at the moment we're very pleased. Looks as if there might be a podium within our grasp. But that slips away when Marcel van der Mark comes in for another pit stop. It's all over. A broken distributor on the BMW. Unfortunately for them, the podium still remains out of reach after 4 races. Well, after the pit stops with no result seconds, Huub Del Nooy leads from Erik van der Munkhoff, then Mark van der Aar, Dennis de Groot, Erik Fick and Rainer Weishaupt in the KTM Crossbow. Well, the little open KTM right behind this battle for 4th place on the inside. Dennis de Groot, but around the outside sweeps Erik Fick. De Groot trying to battle back, but after Mark de Graaf fought so hard in the first part of the race, the 1 Series has really got no tyres left. He can't get back past Erik Fick. And here is trouble now. Huub Del Nooy blows up only 2 laps before the end of the race. And Erik Fick moves up to 3rd. After 10 minutes, the warning signals came on. The gearbox temperature, engine temperature were too high. In the final 5 laps, the engine started to misfire. I was heading down to the last chicane and then the engine blew and that was the end of the race. Well, to every cloud of oil smoke, there's a silver lining, and this was for Erik van der Munkhoff. He inherited the lead and managed to hang on for the last few minutes to take the checkered flag. Erik van der Munkhoff wins his first race of the season despite 15 result seconds.
Ja, super race gereden. Echt.
Amazing races, Erik. I was really flying from the beginning of the race. I stayed close to the leaders. Luck was on my side. Some strong rivals managed to take themselves out, but I had a good race as well. My pace was great, consistent lap times. Few problems with the brakes, a lot of air in the system, but working on the corner speed compensated for that. I'm very excited, very happy. A race win and 2nd place with 40 result seconds and a drive-through from mistimed pit stop for Koen Boekarts and Mark van der Aar. They've been leading the points chart since the season opener at Zandvoort and still do. New to the sport class this season is 17-year-old Stan van der Oort in the Clio 3 RS run by Spirit Racing. Though he was only 5th fastest in qualifying, he wins the first race of the weekend by half a second from Lotus drivers Carlijn Bergsma and Peter de Jong.
I
was really happy it started raining near the end, said Stan. That's where front drive Renault Clio is at its best. The Lotus was just too quick for me in the dry. It's really great. I'm really pleased. Pole for both races in sport went to the black and white Lotus number 555, Carlijn Bergsma and Peter de Jong. De Jong starts race 2 and keeps the lead. But losing second place, Wibo Weizsäß as Chris Froome comes alongside in the Peugeot RCZ. Peter de Jong and Carlin Bergsma were quick all weekend, but they lost the lead in race 1 after a brief rain shower. Their first race win is yet to come. The Peugeot RCZ of Chris Froome and Bart van den Broek is new to the Supercar Challenge this year. After third in race 1 on Saturday, they're now in second. Wibo Weizsäß lost third after he spun at the end of lap 1 on cold tyres and dropped back to fifth behind Rob Neiman in the blue and yellow Clio and Stan van der Oord just ahead of him. Weizsäß, though, the fastest Clio driver in the class when his tyres are at the correct temperature. And Weizsäß overtakes Neiman on the run down to the hospital corner, retaking fourth position, starting to fight his way back up the order. And that fight back continues as he catches Neiman's teammate Stan van der Oord. Van der Oord defending extremely well. He also races in the Clio Cup Benelux, so he's familiar with close racing as well as familiar with the Renault Clio. Wibo Weizsäß not giving up, wheel to wheel again. This is turning into a fantastic battle. Tiny bit of contact, bumping over the rumble strips. Still nothing in it. They are side by side, door handle to door handle. But it looks as though Wibo Weizsäß is just getting the advantage. He's got the inside line for the Jackie Ickx chicane. And he takes third place. Well, his opportunity to move up further comes here at Bianchi. Chris Froome in the RCZ makes room for 2 Supersport cars to go by, and that costs him off the corner. Weizsäß, though, no delay, goes by on the straight down to the first chicane, and before they get onto the brakes, Chris Froome accepts that he's going to lose this position. Wibo Weizsäß up into second place now. A good recovery drive. Race leader Peter de Jong coming in for his mandatory pit stop. Carlin Bergsma, though, is not getting into the car. There's a problem with the engine.
Ja, het ging super. We zaten er goed in.
Everything was going great. We had the right pace, consistent lap time, said Peter. I even managed to stay close to the back of the Supersport cars. I was planning to get by a few, but over the radio they said, no, stick to doing consistent lap times, save the tyres. We were leading the race by a big margin, but unfortunately the engines let go, and that's a real shame. No luck at all for Lotus engines in Zolder then. Bad luck too for Kim Troyen with another exhaust fire. Now, this is not a common sight in motor racing, but 2 cars had exhaust fires on the same weekend, and it wasn't even that hot at Zolder. Luckily, no major damage done to the Focus silhouette, but her race was over. Wibo Weizsäß wins his first race of the season. Chris Froome and Bart van den Broek are second. Third place taken by Stan van Oord. A great performance by Weizsäß, especially when you consider he spun on the opening lap of the race.
Het was een hele goede race. Ik begon heel slecht.
Wow, I was having a great race. Unfortunately, though, it did start horribly. I spun on cold tyres. I was just too eager to push forward after problems in Saturday's race, but I'm really happy with this result. Rob Neiman was the points leader after the opening round at Zolder, but now in second place, he's a point behind Wibo Weizsäß. The Peugeot drivers are 3 points adrift. Well, that's it from Zolder for our sports classes. Next time out, we'll be back at Zolder with the Cintiq Super Prix on June the 20th and 21st, with all divisions of the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli and much more. For tickets, see zoldersuperprix.be. The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Cintiq's innovative lubricants, Autosportinsurance.com, and IDIS high-definition surveillance systems.